That good stuff. Come on now, spread that good stuff. Spread the good stuff.
What is up, my friends? Welcome to the Spread the Good Stuff podcast. I am your host, Bronkar Lee, better known as the Good Stuff Guy. Here we bring you good stuff all the time. Today is our first episode, and we thought that it would be really fun to kick things off by bringing my friend and producer of the podcast, my man Dan, to interview me for the first episode. So Dan, I'm going to throw it to you, my man.
Bronkar, so happy to be here. And I'm so happy for you starting off on this podcasting venture. And I thought it was only right that the first guest is you. We got to put you in the hot seat here. And in order for the good audience of this show to know where you're going, of course, they got to know where you've been and get a little background on you. I'm sure most people are familiar with you. Multi-talented, true polymath, been there, done that. You are, quite honestly, it'd be easier to list the things you haven't done instead of the things you do because it is a long list. So tell the audience about yourself. Who is Bronkar? Where do you come from? What's your background? How'd you get here?
I am a Viking. No, not really. I come from Pluto. No, so I was born and raised in Georgia and have two boys, beautiful spirited boys, a glorious wife and sanity goddess, Cindy. It's been a wild ride. I've lived many lives in this one. And my belief is that life happens in the detours. And so I've taken a lot of detours, whether it's down, the circus performer route or the musician route or the healer route, keynoting, all kinds of random adventures that I've had or detours. And, my mission is really to synthesize all of these experiences down to what I call the good stuff. And my mission across the board, no matter what I've plugged into, has all been about bringing out the best in others, about unlocking the harmonic potential in every situation and relationship that I'm in. And not only bringing out the best in others, but also bringing out the best in myself and spreading that, whether that's through, friendships, partnerships, colleagues in business, parenting, whatever that looks like. It's really focusing on what brings that joy, summons that silly, catalyzes the creativity, and brings out the best in human beings. That's really my mission as an individual, and that's what we're focused on bringing to this show here.
That definitely sounds like good stuff, my brother. And I got to ask, and I don't even think I've asked you this off camera. Where does the name come from? Where did your parents come up with the name Bronkar? I'm sure I'm not alone with the rest of the audience in saying that you are the only Bronkar that I've ever met and know currently. So what's the background on the name? Very interesting name.
Yeah, so Bronkar is actually my middle name. And so it's a family name. And when I was, and trust me, I get many nicknames because that name, Bronkar, gets misspelled on a daily basis.
I'm sure
it gets butchered in all kinds of ways, and it's like bonker or Brancor or something. People abbreviate it. It's a Bronk, or I tell people half the time BK because it's just easier to remember. But the name comes. It's my family name. It's my middle name, and as I coming through high school, I had a very challenging time and experience, as many of us do. It's a bizarre time for all human beings with, hormones and friendships and relationships. And as we're coming into our adulthood, and after high school, I really emerged as an artist, an entrepreneur, a coach, a speaker, just a human being. I came into myself, and as I came into myself, I decided to adopt my middle name as the name that I would go by full time. And so as I stepped into that role, I assumed the name Bronkar, which created a little bit of an identity crisis for a while there. But once we worked through that, it was all good. And it just really fit me as I was looking for my unique voice in the world. The name Bronkar just resonated, and it was very vibrationally congruent with the work that I was doing and the person that I had become and was continuing to become.
Makes perfect sense to me. And yeah, isn't high school it's like a cruel joke. We're going through all these changes, and it couldn't be a more stressful time, and we couldn't be less prepared during that time frame, unlike as we get older and start to find ourselves. So yeah, I think a lot of people share that same story of, I wish I could do that over again, yet I'm so happy it's over type of situation.
Yeah.
But let's get into the previous year, because 2020 was, it was a year unlike any other year before. It's one of my personal favorite sayings is necessity is the mother to invention. And I think that really came to life for a lot of people who had new necessities based off of circumstance and had to reinvent themselves, not only in their career, but in their personal life. How did 2020 treat you? Did you have to make any alterations to what you had going on? And looking back on it, what did you learn? What are your takeaways? Give me some highs and lows.
Yeah, a lot of great questions baked into there. So I would say 2020 for me, the year 2020 definitely was, 2020 vision. It really brought a lot of clarity out. There were a lot of growing pains in there, a lot of challenging experiences. First and foremost, I'm a dad. And I have two boys. And, for anybody that's a parent, that's just absolutely the biggest life-changing experience of all is when you become, the human that's responsible for humans. And so for me, parenting during the pandemic was incredibly challenging, and it also yielded a lot of opportunities. So initially, when pandemic hit, we lost, 100% of our business, tons of live events, keynotes, concerts, everything got wiped out. I went into a place of wallowing and victim mentality and, was very angry at the world and, just why did this happen to me? And then my wife, Cindy, and Sanity Goddess, she was just like, one evening we were having a meeting. After the boys went to bed, and she was just like, "You're so difficult to be around right now," because I'm a really intense guy, and obviously, and she said, "You're so difficult to be around. I don't want to be around you." She said, "Here, put these on," and I was like, "What the heck are those?" And she said, "They're gratitude glasses. Put them on." And she just held her hands up with two little circles, and I was like, nice. "Okay." Just as a joke, I was like, "Let me put these gratitude glasses on." I couldn't help but play with her, right? And instantaneously, it brought a smile to my face. So I made two little circles with my hands, put them over my eyes, and started looking around. I was like, "What do I do now with these gratitude glasses?" And she said, "Look around and see your life. Look at your life and see the opportunity, the possibility that is here right now." And so I started looking around. I started analyzing. Okay, well, all of this work had been wiped out, so we took a big financial loss. But now there's an opportunity to pivot, to reinvent, and to actually step into a lane that I'd been wanting to step into as a professional for a long time. I started looking at my family and I started seeing the boys, and I said, well, now suddenly I'm not going to be traveling for 170 days this year, or I was going to be gone for half the year. Now suddenly I have this opportunity to develop and nurture a deeper connection with my two boys, and to actually cultivate routines and patterns with them that were going to be, long-term, healthy patterns and connection points for us, touch points. And so I started looking around and seeing this as an opportunity to take control of my health as a 41-year-old man who had, started waning and getting that dad bod going on, as we called him, Tubby Daddy. And it was like, right, it was an opportunity to shed some of that weight and shift my nutritional intake. Because when we're traveling, I'm on the road a lot. I consider myself an opportunivorist as far as diet goes, and because I'm in so many different places, but so that can lend itself to a lot of like burgers and fries. And I'm not knocking burgers and fries; they're really good, but it's just like you're out and you're kind of eating whatever's there. And so shifting my nutritional intake, shifting my connection and relationship with my boys, shifting my physical output, shifting business, and so there was all of this opportunity to open these different doors and really create a transformation. And, human beings really don't change unless, for the most part, unless something, dramatic is happening, unless we're required to do that. We're naturally lazy beings. It's like, all right, well, I'm happy, I'm comfortable, I'm set. I don't need to change anything. And so this was a very, it wasn't a requirement. It wasn't mandatory, but it was a very strong invitation from the universe that was saying, are you going to open this? Are you going to take control? Are you going to create the transformation? And when I say take control, it's also a part surrender as well. It's a listening, surrendering and allowing, and taking massive action kind of thing. And so in that moment, or in those moments, it wasn't just a single moment, but in this moment of gratitude glasses and this epiphany I had, I started seeing the opportunity and the possibility. And so then the business shifted. Then relationships, new relationships started showing up. As I changed my internal frequency to a place of opportunity and possibility, then other people that were on that same wavelength started showing up as well. And then new business relationships, colleagues, friendships, things like that started manifesting. And then there was the, an identity shift, so to speak, kind of a death and rebirth experience like the Phoenix, where there was the shedding of the skin of the previous version or iteration of Bronkar was being shed. And now this new iteration was being morphed into, as many of us have experienced. And so I think it's lots of pits, lots of peaks, lots of things being shaken up. And as there were many negative experiences for the world, there were a lot of people, that have, fallen sick and have had illness, and obviously certain, less preferred things in the world. And then I look at myself and I say, yeah, there were definitely some things that were less preferred. And overall, the transformation for me personally and my family, we just took a spin on it, and we have created a healthy transition into our next chapter.
Yeah, great answer. I feel like that was an honest answer. And behind every crazy man is a wonderful woman. Praise to your sanity goddess for those gratitude goggles, right? Let me try them on. I mean, I think everyone should pause the podcast, put on those gratitude goggles, because you're right. It's so important to look at things through the proper lens and filter out the negative. I think the smart people took an honest inventory during this thing and really took some time to self-assess, find the weaknesses, and hopefully turn them into strengths by the time this year was over. And for those who did, they're starting to see the fruits of their efforts starting to pay off. So it seems like that is the case for you, who has jumped into this latest venture of podcasting. Is this something that is a happy accident or an area you've wanted to get into for a while? Tell me about how you arrived at this latest venture of the Spread the Good Stuff podcast with Bronkar Lee.
Yeah, brother. Great question. So, as far as like creating a podcast, that's been something that I've been playing with for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. I started a podcast before. It's a lot of work, if you want to do it properly, as far as like, getting the I's dotted, T's crossed, the production side of things that most people, if you haven't produced stuff, you kind of take it for granted. You're like, oh yeah, just turn the camera on and go. And it's like, yeah, for sure. But there's a lot of personal development that goes into just being able to show up and be your authentic self. And there's a lot of training that I've gone through as far as like in the keynoting and public speaking realm, in the performance and facilitation realm, in the coaching realm. And so all of my mentors, all of my coaches, all of those people are vicariously living through me, and their, legacy is living through me as I am with the people that I work with, and the listeners are with the people that they work with. So there's definitely a lot of work that is required to produce something like this. And so I think I resisted that for some time. It just didn't fit into my recipe of life. It wasn't an ingredient that was key. But now, once we basically created Spread the Good Stuff as a movement, as a community, as a thing, as an entity, once that came to be, and it just came to be not even 2 months ago. And once it came out, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is a thing. It's not about me. Sure, I can be the front man. I can be in the leadership role. I can be at the helm, of the ship. But it's like, Spread the Good Stuff is a movement. It's a thing that's happening outside of me, regardless of me. And that's very exciting. I've lived a lot of my life being on stages. I've done over 5,000 live shows. That's 5,000 live shows, which is,
Wow.
400 shows a year for several years. And, more shows than days. And so I spent a lot of time on stage, and whereas I feel like I've done some good work there, a lot of it has been ego driven. It's like, hey, there's a lot of vanity metrics involved, and hey, look at me. Aren't I great? Hey, I'm good enough, which goes back to a lot more patterns that we can delve into as is appropriate to open those doors of authenticity and vulnerability with the listeners. But for me, the Spread the Good Stuff movement is really about reminding people that what they do matters, and how they show up in the world matters, and how important it is for everyone to shine their light brightly and sing their unique theme song at the top of their lungs, because every action that we take has a reaction. It has a repercussion, the domino effect, the ripple effect, or the echo effect that I like to talk about. And that resonance, that echo continues on long after the words have been spoken or the action has been made. And so we all have this energetic signature that we're putting on life, and everybody that we come in contact with, we are affecting them for better, for worse, in a preferred or less preferred, in an optimal or suboptimal way. And those actions that we take, those words that we speak, have that ripple effect, and they continue to resonate on through life. And so my mission in Spread the Good Stuff is to remind people of how to be in their place of power and to understand that what they do matters.
Yeah, that sounds like an elaborate process, but knowing you like I do, I think this is really a natural extension of who you are. You spread the good stuff. That's what Bronkar is all about. And as someone who's, how many live shows? 5,000?
Yeah, over 5,000. Yeah.
I could only imagine the people you've rubbed up against, the relationships you have built. And is that something you're planning on integrating into the show, bringing these people onto the show and tapping into their vibes and whatnot?
Yeah. You mean like in person?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Yeah. There's a million directions we can go. There's so many things we can get into, and a lot of that's going to come down to, what the production is, what the sponsorship is, what the funding is. Sure, we can eventually fly people in. We're working on building a good stuff sanctuary right now, where I'll be able to do, more live stuff. But yeah, as far as, things being in person, as far as like the podcast goes, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But certainly live events, summits, retreats, in-person conferences, concerts, things like that is primarily where I operate. And then doing them on the virtual platform, like this. There's tons of possibilities, and there's tons of cross-pollination, opportunities and hybrid versions of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant more or less. You're going to have people on and in a virtual capacity at first, right? You're going to bring your friends, your mentors. Do you have any plans on who's on the guest list? I can imagine it's wrapping around the block at this point.
Yeah, brother, we got lots of amazing people on. So I'm bringing a lot of my mentors on, a lot of my coaches on, people who have been inspirations to me, stellar human beings who are doing, good things in the world. And that's all kinds of different masters. A lot of people that work in, performance, a lot of people in health and wellness, things that are going to strengthen the listeners, things that are going to add value to the listeners. So every episode, the mission is for people to leave having a new tool in their tool belt, having a new perspective on life, having a new, a new thought that is either been planted in their mind, a new seed in their garden of life, or being reminded of something that they once knew and maybe have forgotten. And so that's the mission. Everybody that comes on is just full of wisdom in spreading good stuff in the world.
Fantastic. So we're talking conversations of inspiration with amazing people you've met along the way. Check. That's of course what everybody wants to hear. What else is under the spreading the good stuff umbrella? That is it's a macro term. I think for a lot of people, it could mean different things. What does it mean to Bronkar? What is spreading the good stuff outside of the amazing people you've met? What else can people expect over the next few months, years, and et cetera?
Yeah. So spreading the good stuff to me is, it's a movement. It's an energy. It's an omnipresent undercurrent of intentionality that flows within everything. And so it's not the what, it's the why and the how. So it's not what song am I playing on the saxophone, right? What song am I singing? It's like, how am I singing that song? Why am I singing that song? And so words are words, but when we use words with intention, suddenly they can transform, suddenly they can move, suddenly they can heal, suddenly they can inspire, remind, empower, catalyze. And so it's being really clear on the intention that is baked into the recipe of the what we are doing. And so to me, it's I'm a conduit, I'm a Paul Revere, I'm a front man, I'm a host. And maybe I'm holding space for others to bring that, or maybe I'm sharing my perspective, or maybe I'm doing it through music, or, through a story or an entertainment or whatnot. Those are different tools that we can use, different channels that we can tap into and share it. But ultimately, there's plenty of the other stuff in the world that is being pumped into our psyche through, social media, through mainstream media, through, different channels. For me, I'm here to, I'm here to bring the good stuff back. It's like, I'm here to spread optimism, love, possibility, compassion, kindness, empathy, and to really remind people that stuff matters. And so that's at the forefront of everything. So the questions that I ask my guests are all focused on inspiration, on joy, on reminding, steering, because, I believe that, one of my big passions is bringing meditation to the masses and mindfulness to the mainstream. And a lot of people get turned off by the word meditation or mindfulness, and they think that it's some abstract woo-woo thing that you have to go to a cave and hibernate for 30 years to master it and all that, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, how do we bring that in to everyday living, everyday life? How can we be more mindful? How can we incorporate meditation that is accessible and relatable for the lifestyles that we're living as busy entrepreneurs or business people or working professionals and parents and whatever it is in 2021, And so that's one of my big passions, is to bring that in, and basically to incorporate tools that can help us stay in our place of power so that we can shine our light more brightly, so that we can have a greater impact on the world. So I'll pause there, because there's a lot of directions I could go with that, but let you steer me, because I've got a lot of love in my heart and thoughts in my mind that I could riff on for 10 days straight if somebody just brought me food and water.
I know that's true. And that is actually the beauty of this podcast, is that I do see it going a ton of different directions. You and I have kind of talked off camera, and I think some of the listeners who are familiar with you know just how deep that bag of tricks is. But for those who are not super familiar, I think you guys are going to be blown away in just how talented this cat is. For example, we see a ton of instruments behind you. Well, tell people about that. What your love for music clearly is one of the key variables in the Bronkar equation of what makes you who you are. Tell people about your love of music and instruments and what they can expect from all those crazy instruments behind you. It's too many to count.
Yeah, it is. It is too many to count. Yes, I play a lot of instruments, many. Yeah, everything from drums to woodwinds to all string stuff. And I love music, and I love learning, and I love my belief is that an instrument is an extension of the core essence of who we are. And it's just when we can master the mechanical body, then we can express ourselves through that particular medium. Just like anything, the spoken word is the same thing. We organize consonants and vowels in a particular way. We tell a story, we can craft a story, and then we can deliver it with meaning and love and clear intentionality. And the same thing for music. And so I love learning new instruments. I love the learning process of creating a relationship with an instrument and unlocking the harmonic potential between the self and the tool or the apparatus or the instrument in this case. And so there's a fascinating process inside of just the lifelong learning and development side of it, and the nuts and bolts. But there's also, to me, music itself, speaking to music, it's an underutilized tool in our society. And my belief is that music has the power to help, to heal, to stimulate, to relax. And it is just an undeniable tool. And it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care where you're from or who you are, how much money you have, how many accolades you have. Music just penetrates everything. It goes straight to the core. It goes straight to the reptilian brain. It goes straight to the heart. It goes straight to the gut. And it has the ability to unify people, no matter where we're from, what continent or country we're from. When you hear a groove, you assimilate to that groove. When we hear a tempo and a melody, we lock onto it. We're captivated by it, and we are entranced. And it is a tool that can be a key that can unlock a portal that takes us to other dimensions of reality, whether that's within ourselves, in our heads, or in our bodies, or in the energetic realm. But it's kind of like a mathematical equation, like E equals MC squared. It's like, okay, you do this. You play music like this, and it unlocks this particular door, and it takes you to this place of deep relaxation. You use this key of music, it unlocks this door, and it takes you to this place of being able to rev it up and get your sweat on and get your exercise on. You use it like this, and it can be a powerful place to get you, in your pre-game, pre-meditative state of mind before a big moment, whether that's a speech or a game or a meeting, whatever that looks like. And so for me, I use music as a tool to consciously engineer it so that it unlocks the inner potential in other people. And so it is always a tool for me that I'm using for others, or it's a tool that I'm using for myself to create that self-soothing, self-therapy, relaxation, stimulation, whatever that is. But it's always at the core a tool that is used for good and for helping and for healing.
You guys think he likes music? I mean, it's clearly palpable. I mean, you can just, it exudes off of the camera, your true love of music. You come to life, your eyes get big, and it's awesome to see. And Bronkar's being humble. As a person who plays a grand total of 0 instruments personally, I am blown away by, not to put a number on it, but put a number on it, because you guys are going to be blown away by how many instruments he has taught himself to play. Tell him, Bronkar.
I kind of lose count, but I'm somewhere around 60. I own a few hundred instruments, but yeah, I think it's
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And to that, it's like, to me, I get it. But, to me, it's, every time I learn a new instrument, I'm not starting from scratch. I'm always morphing into the next iteration of a previous instrument, just like we do with learning in general in life. If there's any bilinguists or trilinguists, anybody that speaks multiple languages, there's so many points that we can leverage there to morph into that next language. Or, there's transferability and that we have already. And so, for me, it's when I learn, I play a lot of woodwinds, for example. And basically woodwinds are like when you take the wind that you produce and then you apply it to, a saxophone, a clarinet, a native flute, a bansuri flute, a traditional flute. All of these are in the woodwind family. And so once you learn one, you basically have this, you deconstruct the skill. And it's like, okay, once I tap into my breath, I learn how to breathe deeply, which is a powerful tool, for anything in life, whether you're an athlete, a speaker, a coach, a parent, or whatever. It's like learning how to breathe deeply is such an incredible tool. But once you learn that, then you can apply it to different instruments. And then all you do is you wiggle your fingers around in these particular combinations. And, a saxophone has a reed. And so you just change your embouchure, your lips and your tongue a little bit versus a flute. You have a slightly different thing that you do with your mouth, but then you're still just kind of wiggling your fingers around and blowing your hot air in there. I just happen to have a lot of hot air. So it's a good outlet for me to plug into. But what I'm saying is that no matter where we are in our lives or what we're learning, there's always transferability. And we already have skills. Everybody that's listening right now has skills in their tool belt. They have a tool belt full of skills and tools. And so as we're learning new things, we're bringing those to the forefront, and we're leveraging those to morph into the next iteration. And that's how I look at learning new instruments.
That's what I mean by polymath. It's that's the very definition, that overlap and interoperability to use what you already know and integrate it into a new skill set. And if I had to pick one word to describe you, that would be it, because there's this constant growth that you are showing by taking your previous skill, transferring it into your new one, and so on it goes. And next thing you know, you can play 60 instruments and do 5,000 shows. It's truly impressive, brother. You kind of touched on it a little bit ago as well. And one of my favorite things you say is you produce meditation that doesn't suck. What does that mean? Tell people, because you're right. I think a lot of people have that preconceived notion of namaste, and which there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the meditation you're bringing is a little bit on a different tip. Tell people about what to expect in that regard.
Yeah. So, a bit ago, just to speak to that first, the title, a bit ago, I started, we built an app, and we started creating a lot of content around this over the last years. I've been doing this, but, and we jokingly said, I was in conversation, I was like talking to somebody who was not a meditator, and they were just like really resist like meditation, mindfulness, things like that. And I was like, no, but it's cool because these are meditations that don't suck. And then they laughed hysterically, and they were like, actually, I would try that. And so we jokingly started saying, all right, yeah, so I do meditations that don't suck, and started saying that everybody would laugh every time I would say that. And certainly that's not to say that like all meditations that have, pre-existed what I do suck. It's not at all. Right. But it is just saying that there's a heavy stereotype with meditation. And so what we do is it's kind of, I like to do a cross-pollination of things where I'm taking music, consciously engineered music, and then I'm blending it with narration and guided visualization. And so basically we're kind of holding people's hands and making it clear and saying, hey, this is where we're going. This is what I invite you to put on the forefront of your mental search engine, right? Just like you would type that into Google on a search, like what are we searching for? And then we put that in their mind, and it's like, okay, we're searching for this. Let's go there. And then it has music baked in there, which music is kind of that atmospheric navigator, or that canvas, that foundation that we're building upon. And it gets us on that tempo. It allows us to, gives us permission to pause, which is a technique that I do, which is permission to pause is pause the music, listen within, adjust the tempo, press play again. So it's a technique that we can use in our daily lives, no matter where we are. And that's essentially what we create with the meditation. Is it's musical meditations. It's using spoken word and storytelling and narration blended with music that creates this cross-pollinated experience. And not only are we using meditation or visualization for deep relaxation, we're also using it for stimulation. So I like to create these experiences where people can listen to them to get them revved up, to jumpstart their day, to listen to as a pregame experience, to get them pumped up. And just like you would listen to a rock song or a pop song or a hip hop song or whatever your genre of choice is to get you revved up in the moment, instead of listening to that, this is basically that, but specifically engineered to get inside of your mind, for you to get inside of your own mind, to align your mind and set your tone for how you want to show up.
Yeah, and I've gotten to listen to a lot of it firsthand, and you guys are going to be blown away. It's unlike anything you've heard, and it's just not just for meditation. For me personally, I put it on for studying, for preparation, a lot just as background while I'm doing my work, which I think it's exploding genre, especially on YouTube. You see some of the numbers on these, and it's insane, because I think a lot of people working from home, trying to cancel out all the noise in their house, whether it's a screaming kid or a lawnmower or whatever the case might be. This is just a perfect way. It's like noise cancellation, allows you to dial in. And you kind of touched on that earlier. There's a lot of noise coming from the world. And I feel like that's what you're offering. You're offering noise cancellation in many different aspects to the listeners at large.
Yeah, it's giving us permission to get away from the cacophony of life, because there's so much out there. There's so much, movement and sound and noise and cacophony and chaos that's going on constantly. It's hard to focus. And especially for me, I've had ADHD, imagine that, but it's like I've had ADHD. And so figuring out how to channel, how to focus has been challenging for me. And so this is that's another part of what we've created with Mindset Music is instrumental music as well. So there's a couple of different parts to the musical compositions that I've created, which is one is like meditation, visualization. It's got narration. It gives us stuff to focus on. Speaking using English language to speak. And then there's a ton of instrumental stuff that I've composed and created. And that is, hand pans, flutes, saxophone, drums, beats, recording nature sounds, birds and waterfalls, rivers, oceans, blending all of that together, and then creating these sound palettes for people to put on in the background. And this is a whole nother, kind of genre inside of what we've created, which is music that is interesting enough to not be like monotonous and like an annoying loop, like many things, most things that I've heard on YouTube or in this kind of background yoga rhythmic music. It's a loop, and it's like a 5-minute loop that's just like looped over for an hour, and it drives me nuts. And it's like, oh my God, I've heard this so many times. And so I was like, how can I create something that isn't just looped like that, that has enough of an interesting melody and rhythm there to not drive you crazy, but it's not quite catchy enough to pull your attention to it. And there's this middle ground where it's like, it's almost like, yeah, it's not too good,
right,
but it's not too bad. It's like this Goldilocks zone of like, it's just tolerable. You know what I mean? It's like,
totally. It's complementary to whatever else you have going on.
Boom. It's complementary. It's complementary if you got emails to crank out, if you got, edits to make, if you got, if you want to put it on for your yoga practice or your breathing practice or your stretching or exercise practice or your running or whatever that is. It's like, okay, we want stuff that you can put on there and you can listen to, and it can drive your mood and be your atmospheric navigator to get it done, whatever that is.
And on the flip side of that too, I've already used a lot of your stuff to as like a pillow service, a turn down service. It could definitely get you nice and docile too, and ready to decompress at the end of the day. If the audience is like me, that's when I do a personal audit on myself before I go to bed, kind of reflect on the day that was. This is perfect for that, to kind of go deep into your mind and deconstruct your day so you can be a better version of yourself tomorrow. And then next thing you know, you're sleeping. That's happened to me numerous times now, where I'm sitting here listening to your stuff. Not that it puts me to sleep in a bad way. It puts me to sleep in a good way, because I'm like you. My brain is constantly going 1,000 miles an hour. And at the end of the day, sometimes it's just hard to say, all right, let's turn in, let's get a good night's sleep, because your brain keeps going.
We want to decompress. We want to relax. And sure, there are plenty of other tools that we can do. There's, products that we can consume. There's changing clothes. There's changing environments and location, but also sonically, how are we shifting the tone, the music, the tempo, the melody, all of these types of things, to create a healthy and powerful transition into these different ways of being, much like we would shift gears in a car. Right. For those of you who remember the stick shift, how you would, either upshift from first to second to third to fourth to fifth as we get on the freeway, downshifting, and then bringing it back to that neutral place of relaxation. How are we shifting our gears throughout our days? Well said. Yeah, it's a great visual. I can see that. It is important.
It's critical. I'm a big believer that you're a product of not only the people, but the things you surround yourself with most. And that, I believe, is the promise of this podcast and of your platform, is that it's a hub for good stuff. It's plain and simple, but at the same time, one of the most critical decisions somebody can make is choosing to surround yourself with good people, good things, good stuff, and becoming that environment. Because the opposite is also true. If we're surrounding ourselves with junk food, both what we're consuming as far as food or energy or content, it can have a long-term damaging effect. So yeah, I love what you're doing. I love the mission statement, because there's a lot of people putting the crosshairs and focus on all the wrong things. And you're trying to do the exact opposite, put the crosshairs and focal point on all the good things. So I respect you for that, Bronkar. Yeah.
Yeah. And we call those things, that's the other stuff. There's the good stuff and the other stuff. And an important thing to address is that in order to spread the good stuff, in order to be that light and shine brightly and be that powerful force in the universe, as everybody has the ability to do, in order to do that, sometimes we have to work through the other stuff. Sometimes we have to face the other stuff. Sometimes we have to have courageous conversations. So it's not about avoiding any of this other stuff. It's about dealing with that. It's like when you got a heckler in the audience and they're hijacking the show, it's like, you got to deal with that heckler. It's like, you got to call that heckler out. You got to bring that heckler in, make them a part of the show. And so it's like, it's not about ignoring that and kind of, not addressing the elephant in the room. It's like, no, sometimes there needs to be a courageous conversation. Sometimes we need to confront that in order to work through that. The key is to do it in a healthy way that's going to bring out the best in the situation, that's going to unlock the harmonic potential in that environment or that relationship or that situation. And so that's a very important thing, is that we're not shying away from that. We're not just focusing on, butterflies and sunsets. It's like, what I always say is that, look, unicorns fart too, and it's just like, I'm all about a beautiful sunset. I'm all about the fantasy and adventure. I'm all about that. But there's also a reality check, and we have to work through some things here. And life isn't a cookie cutter, Disney story. It just isn't. And I'm a huge Disney fan. I worked for Disney I did hundreds of shows with them on their cruise ships. And I'm a huge Disney fan and advocate for them. And I love what they're doing in the world. Definitely good stuff, in my opinion. But it isn't a cookie cutter Disney movie. It's like having kids isn't just like having a little mini me. And it's like, oh, my little mini me does exactly what I say. And I program him or her and he or she does what I say and wears the same thing that I may believe in the same things and do the same things and love the same things. Not like that at all. It's like, you got to change diapers. You got to deal with tantrums. You got to deal, there's all kinds of stuff that's going on. They got their own reality. And I accept the fact that not only are these little beings a part of my universe and my unique life journey, but I am a part of theirs as well. And so they have their own solar system that is orbiting them, which they are the center of their universe. They are the suns of their universe, as we all are. So it's like acknowledging that there are many things in life that are preferred and less preferred. And sometimes we got to deal with those less preferred things and take them head on, in order to get to the good stuff, in order to vibrate at that high level, in order to really be vibrationally congruent and to amplify our impact in the world and to spread more of the good stuff. It's not about ignoring that other stuff. It's about dealing with that. We got to clean out the garage every once in a while in order to make space so we can paint the walls and we can do the thing and we can whatever. We got to deal with that, man. We got to move it out. We got to sweep it out. We got to do the thing, in order to have the thing. We can't just sit there and ohm about it. It's like, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to have a magical garden in the backyard. And I open my eyes and it's like, where are the plants? Where's the fruit? Where are the veggies?
Right.
It's like, no. I got to go to the store. I got to get some seeds. I got to get some fertilizer. I got to get some soil. I got to water them. I got to plant them. I got to nurture them. I got to love them. I got to tend to them. I ain't going to have a garden if I don't do that. So we actually have to do it. And in fact, spreading the good stuff. And my mission is if you think of a YX graph, right? You got this up and then you got this side, you got vertical and horizontal graph, and it's the YX. And it's like up here, you got the abstract skill, the energy, the essence, the esoteric, the metaphysical, all of this stuff up here. People call them soft skills. I call them essential skills, life skills. And then down here, you got the nuts and bolts. You got the spreadsheet and the steak dinner. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you got that, and where those two meet in the top right corner, that is the mastery. That is the Jedi. That is when you have got it going on. That is the good stuff up there. We got to have both. We got to actually follow through. We got to make the plan. We got to follow the plan. We've got to integrate the nutritional intake. We've got to integrate the exercise. We've got to, whether that's physical or mental, meditation or getting your sweat on. It's like we've got to do that on a consistent basis. And we've got to do it with love, compassion, kindness, high vibes, all of that in order to be this Jedi or this wizard, which is essentially the amplifier or the ambassador of the good stuff.
That was a mouthful, but I know you meant every word of it. I'm actually very happy to hear that because it is in vogue, right? It's in vogue to be kind and nice and to focus on the good things in life. These are all just, platitudes that are aplenty in today's day and age. But you're right. It's that rolling up your sleeves, getting your hands dirty, putting some ingenuity and elbow grease in there and getting the job done. And as someone who knows you personally, I'll give all the listeners a perfect example. Bronkar, you got to start interviewing some people so you can get your sea legs and start seeing what it's like. It's a different experience than being on stage. Well, less than a week later, Bronkar's done 10 interviews and, he's just hit the ground running. And I respect that. You just get out there and fall forward, however you want to say it. That's 9/10 of the law, right? Actually doing it. We can all talk about it. We can all, spit out a cute little phrase that sounds good, but actually implementing it, applying it in a practical way. That's where the truth bumps come in. That's where the life altering moments happen. And I'm happy to hear that you will be doing your best to facilitate that in people's lives, because that's what people need. Everyone has a feel good, but a lot of people don't know how to foster that dream into a reality and make it a new part of their life's mission. So I think you have more than enough success behind you to where you can speak about this wisely. And I'm excited, not only for the listeners, but personally to listen to your show and to tap into that. And I can't help but think when I like, for example, you brought up hecklers in the crowd and of course, 5,000 shows. And there's a lot of podcasters out there. And I think we could all kind of, those of us who have been behind the microphone and done some podcasting, there's a certain feeling that comes from it, a little bit of a rush. What's the difference, though? As someone now, you've been doing this for, you're kind of seeing what this podcasting game is all about. You've been on more stages than I can shake a stick at. What's the crossover? What's the difference? Do you get that same adrenaline that you would from doing a live performance as doing a podcast? Help people tap into that. I'd like to know what it's like to be on stage and how it stacks up to being behind a mic.
Yeah, they're so different. They're so different. Behind a mic, you're safe. You got a microphone, you got a little camera. This is easy.
I thought you might say that.
Oh, this is like, I mean, I haven't rehearsed anything that I'm saying now. It's like, this is just totally off the cuff.
Isn't that beautiful? It's like the ad lib world of podcasting. Isn't it nice? Just the improv aspect of it.
Yeah. I'm not saying that podcasting is easy for everybody, but there is a huge difference between strapping on your earbuds and turning the camera on and flying to another city, staying in a hotel, getting on stage at 8 a.m. with a microphone strapped to your face, with lights on your face in front of a couple thousand people and making friends with them. And it's like, that is just a completely different experience. This is a safety net. This is like, oh yeah, I could be a tightrope walker. and it's just like, and I'm like, I got my little slack line in the backyard, you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
versus like, tight roping across, the freaking canyon or something,
Right.
Because when you're on stage, man, and especially as a soloist, when you're by yourself, giving a speech or a performance or a keynote address or whatnot, you're on stage by yourself. There's no safety net. I mean, there's no safety net. It's a different kind of safety net. And, for me, one of the biggest things, I'll just speak a little bit to performance, to live performance on stage. And, I would call that analog, and this is digital, right? For the old school musicians or people, it's just like, there's analog on stage, which is like kind of the real thing. And then there's digital, which is like, it's not real. It's just safer. It's just so much safer.
Yeah.
And so on stage, man, I talked about hecklers, and as you brought that up, it's like, the ability to master the nervous system is that right there is, I mean, that's game day. That's kind of like, a good example would be if there's any, sports fans listening and watching. If you're a sports fan, there's a big difference between playing basketball at Madison Square Garden when there's 25,000 people watching and playing basketball in your backyard with your goal. You're still playing basketball, but there's a very different expectation with those people there. And I've actually performed at Madison Square Garden. I did a halftime show for the Knicks and the Celtics years ago, which was a heck of a rush, man. Whoa.
I can imagine.
I mean, that was a big learning experience of how to cultivate a powerful ritual and routine, a pregame ritual and routine. Because I'm going on at halftime in between these like beast players, and all of the audience is there to see them. And here I've got to come out and and do my thing in between. But anyway, there's such a big difference in that. And so, but what I found is that as I can master the self, as I can master my nervous system, as I can do that, I set a clear intention. And what I do is every time before a show, I put my focus off of myself and onto the audience. And I say, I'm not here for me. I'm not here for vanity metrics. I'm not here to be perfect. I'm not paralyzed by perfection. Because as soon as I get in that state that I've got to be perfect, there's no way that I can do that. I can't achieve that as a human. And so I put that on the audience and I say, I'm here to help. I'm here to inspire. I'm here to heal. And so as soon as I put that focus on the audience, I can't mess that up. I can't mess it up. It's impossible for me not to succeed because I'm there with that omnipresent undercurrent and intention of love, of kindness, of coaching, of compassion, of bringing out the best in somebody else. And as I'm there and I put that on the forefront of my mental search engine, I'm searching for that opportunity. And so as I step on stage, I'm already winning because I'm there to help and heal and serve and contribute. And then as the show goes on, what I do is this came from working comedy clubs. And I did a lot of comedy clubs on cruise ships and in LA and when I lived in Los Angeles and all kinds of different stuff. And doing these comedy clubs, you're coming on stage and you're having to warm up an audience instantaneously. You've got 5 seconds, you've got 1 second. It's immediate when people are either going to love you or they're not. And so coming out and creating instant connection with the audience, building immediate rapport with the audience is such a critical part. And so as we can get into there and we think about the psychology of things, we think about instead of it, because essentially what you're doing is you're delivering a monologue, but you're making it feel like a dialogue. You want the audience to feel included. So then there's tools of ways to bring them in, ways to make them feel as though they're part of the show, part of the experience. And so for me, it's always about finding ambassadors in the audience, finding amplifiers in the audience, calling on people. And those could be quiet people that are kind of hush hush hiding. Those can be the loud people who are like getting up and belligerent. It's like, but finding those people and creating connections with them. And then suddenly when you create a connection with an audience member, then you start to have this harmonic potential that you can unlock. And suddenly there's me on stage, there's that one audience member, and then there's the energy of us together. And so it becomes 1 + 1 is 3. And so that 3 then starts to multiply, and other people can vicariously experience through that person. And now they have the connection. And then it starts to create these pockets. And then suddenly, just like laughter, when one person starts to laugh and cackle, you kind of can't help but smile and cackle. You just, it's infectious. And that can go in either ways. There's the good stuff and the other stuff, you know what I'm saying? And so that you can easily dive bomb very quickly, and all that stuff. But so as I search for those, it's unlocking that harmonic potential with an audience. So there's a completely different skill set there than doing a podcast or a live or even if you are live, but certainly if you're pre-recorded, post-production and all that stuff. But there's a very different feeling. Now, I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying that they're so different. And just like the musical instruments we were talking about earlier, I'm not saying that there are tons of skills that are transferable. I don't know how podcasting and that type of thing translates and transfers into live performance, because I've come from the live performance world. Sure. and I'm transferring it to podcasting. And to me, it's very, very easy. Because there's so many skills that are transferable, not because I'm better or worse than anybody, but because I've logged, I don't know, 20,000 hours. I don't know how many hours I've logged on stage, but so many hours doing that thing that now that comes over here. And so I don't know how it goes, the other way. But that certainly is from my experience in 10,000 words or more. There you go.
Yeah, it's you're right. There is that reverse. Most people would start podcasting, graduate to live gigs, and you've gone the other way. You've been performing for probably most of your adult life. And it is something that comes naturally to you. For a lot of people, what I've realized is they start podcasting and they start getting comfortable in their own skin and hearing their own voice on playback and, overcoming some of those initial hurdles. And long term, if people are doing it right, it could lead to, live speaking gigs or flying out and doing something somewhere else. So I brought that up, number one, because I think it's very intriguing, but also just to give people an idea of that skill set that they're going to tap into when listening to your show and some of the things that we could talk about, the implementation, actually using these ideas and putting them into motion in our lives. And
yes,
and just like with your live shows, you talk about integrating the crowd. 1 + 1 is 3. Just from talking with you, I also get the vibe of that you're also looking for that in certain points with your show, doing some live Q&As,
yes.
Facebook lives, and just doing that improv. Let's crowdsource and learn from each other. Is that right?
Absolutely. This is all about building community. It's all about showing up and serving. Again, it's like, what questions do our listeners have? What questions are they needing answered? And to gather that, and that's how you can create a dialogue. And that's the beauty of something you can do here on the virtual platform, is that having that opportunity to engage many different people from different parts of the world simultaneously in the same space and time, and being able to get that real-time feedback and say, okay, how do we get those questions, and then how do we answer them? That will dictate the types of people I bring on the show. That will dictate, me speaking to people as well. And addressing those things, because we're here to serve, we're here to help, to help spread the good stuff in the world. So absolutely, that dialogue is going to be a critical part of this movement.
I can't wait for that. And that's what I'm talking about, guys. There's going to be a wide variety of talking points, platforms that Bronkar is going to be appearing on. You're going to be able to find him on YouTube, of course, wherever podcasts are available, the website itself. We're going to throw some emails out there for where you can drop off some questions. Bronkar is going to do his best to answer all of them. We expect a massive influx. So, we'll pick the best. And of course, Bronkar is going to impart his wisdom. And I know that he's also excited from learning from all of you guys, because collectively, I'm a big believer that everyone has solved a problem. Every problem that's ever existed. The key is building the relationships and finding the right people that you can go to when you have that question, and not being ashamed of not knowing. One of the best things we can ever do is say, I'm not sure. I could do better there, or I need to learn more about that. And then having someone in your Rolodex that you can go to to have those questions answered and to learn from and mentor. Sometimes we're the mentor, sometimes we're the mentee, and that's just life. So I know that you told me that you're excited about that two-way street of teaching what you've learned and learning from all the great teachers. So that's the beauty of the world we're living in now, right? This virtual experience where we all collectively come together and like you said, create this collective consciousness, almost like a neural network of teachings, learning, and also that excitement that you could tap into, that collective energy, right? I mean, that's the beauty of when I think about you podcasting and starting on this venture is just that massive neural network that you're going to be able to tap into. And of course, the listeners will as well. And of course, as we progress down this road, we'll put out, specific addresses, where to find Bronkar. Of course, wherever it is, like, subscribe. So this way you get notifications of when new episodes drop, new content. It's not just going to be interviews, guys. It's going to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a smorgasbord of good stuff. And
yeah,
I don't know about you guys, that gets me pretty excited because I can't think of a better person personally to spread the good stuff other than my main man, Bronkar Lee. Brother, I wish you the very best of luck with this. I know it's going to be just like everything else you do. It's going to be an amazing collection of good stuff, brother. And I know they're just excited as I am. So good luck, my man.
Awesome, brother. Really appreciate you for interviewing me on my podcast. We'll have to do this again because I get to talk a lot here, and this is exciting. When you're interviewing someone, you don't get to talk as much. So this is very exciting for me to be able to yap, because again, I got a lot of hot air and a lot of love in my heart and thoughts in my mind. So thank you for holding space for me and bringing it out of me, brother. So it's a special shout out to Dan.
It's a true honor. Mostly I will be behind the scenes, but who knows? Maybe I'll appear again because people do love hearing from you. But I'm expecting that who's going to interview you in the future is the audience at large, because I know they're going to have a ton of questions for you. And I just can't wait to see you guys all engaging. I'm along for the ride as well. And I'm happy to be a part of this community you're building. I think it's going to be something special. Who knows where it goes? But I feel like Excelsior, onward and upward. There's big things ahead, and I'm just super excited to be part of the team and to see it all, go into that maturation process. It's going to be a fun ride, man. Buckle, like you said the other day, buckle up, and not the seatbelt, but the roller coaster, the whole thing, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be a ride.
Yeah, buckle up, baby. I ain't talking about no lap belt. I'm talking about you got to pull the harness down. It's like we're going. Man. We are
That's
going.
Right.
And I also want to give a special shout out here as we wrap. Special shout out to all of you who listen. If you found value in this, make sure to share it with somebody who you think would benefit from this. Also, I want to give a special thank you to our sponsors. Oh, wait a second. We don't have any sponsors. So if you would like to sponsor us, if you would like to align yourself with us and be an ambassador, be a collaborator, please reach out to us at spreadthegoodstuff.com and let us know how you would like to collab and assist and amplify us. We can't do this alone. It takes a team. So if you yourself would like to become a sponsor, or if you know somebody else who you think that it would be a powerful alliance for us to align ourselves with, please make that connection as we are on the search for that. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Dan, for interviewing me. My name is Bronkar Lee, better known as the Good Stuff Guy. I hope that you found value today. Get out there, shine your light brightly, and sing your unique theme song at the top of your lungs, because the world needs you, my friend, to show up and spread the good stuff. All right. Bye-bye.
Speaking of theme song, you guys, I know you love this track.